so there is no way we can have an address book there. So they actually got rid of that process completely. So I think a lot of work which needs to be done in this region is regulatory, right? For us to be successful, we need to have open, clear channels, a clear process laid out to getting an application through to become a licensed entity in that region. A lot of markets today, we cannot set up and get a license, right? There are restrictions on overseas companies, there are restrictions on who you can hire, what can you do, etc. And I think that's what's delaying the rise of Asia Pacific, especially the market. So one of my hope or expectation is the bigger regulators like in this region, Bank Negara, MAS, get together and push the other regulators in the same direction which they have taken, and the value they have seen of having digital operators like us being in a market. So I think next 3 to 4 years, it's very key that today, if you really look at it, we are all talking, like, for example, Thailand to Myanmar is a great corridor which is appearing right now. But it is unfortunate that a lot of transactions, if you really look at it, is all done by Hawala, or it's all done through the grey market completely. Not many digital operators operate over there. So it's a great opportunity for somebody like 4 of us to have a setup over there and kind of build our business out to look at a digital side of it. So I think a lot of these markets, Indonesia again is a great market where we're talking about. So I think payment system evolution, mobile money, all of this is fantastic, but to crack this region, we need regulators who have taken the stand and seen the value to push other regulators to kind of see the value and kind of help us move faster in the region. So I'm sure 2 or 3 of my license applications are going to cancel after this, but I think I should put this out there.
Thank you. So we've heard a lot about the challenges in terms of the regulatory frameworks, the objectives of financial inclusion, the potential of new technologies, etc., etc. What about also the demand side? Don't you think that the behavior of users is going to be a very important part in the equation, and behaviors tend to be sticky, as we know, and even though convenience will probably be able to change things from that perspective, what do you think is the role of financial education, and from your perspective or your company, or how important is that for you? Did you develop any programs for this, in particular to move away from cash, for instance? I will give the floor to Catherine.
Yes, well, yes, I think, you made a very good point about the stickiness. Is very, people are used, when you come to financial services, people don't switch very quickly, you always have the early adopters, which are, people will always move to the next kind of new product, but the majority of people, stick to what they know. So it takes, so definitely, and certainly this is an approach at WorldRemit, or spending time with the community on explaining how the product works, and removing the fear, because there's still a lot of fear about online payment, and I think that's one approach, and certainly again that's where I think the regulators can help in terms of informing the people about the safety, and the fact that they do a lot of work in licensing of money transfer company, and therefore that they are safe to operate. So I think at the same time there's a lot of change, because people, as I said earlier, people have a smartphone, and so they are the next step to come getting, there's still in this region quite a lot of migrants who don't have bank account, compared to Europe and US, who more or less have everybody has got a bank account. So I think, but these are changing as well. There's a lot of changes, like for example, if you look at UAE and Saudi, we are looking to introduce, for people not be paid in cash, and I understand Malaysia is also moving that way. So there's new products like, payroll card to help people, receive their salary in a digital way, and that's the next step towards for them to be able to use digital services to book their flight with AirAsia, but also to do their remittances.
Thank you. I've been just told that we just have 5 more minutes, which is very unfair, because we didn't have one for our panel, but nevertheless, life is unfair. So let me perhaps ask you a last question. Who wants to risk to look at the crystal ball and tell us about their perspective for the next 5 to 10 years? I think that's a pretty difficult exercise because with the pace of technological evolution and other changes, it is not easy to give us a perspective about the future, but I see Molly is taking the mic, so.
Well, having been here for 165 years as a company and 23 at Western Union, and having first started my career when my family said, why would you go work for Western Union? Cash is dead, it's gonna be gone. And there was just a recent study that said that cash is used by 85% of the population, and that was 10 years ago. And they just redid that study and it's now 83%. So I think I can say that we're all still gonna be here, but that the important part is that bridge, and I like the education piece that you added previously, because in a lot of cases, our consumers are not non-banked. They are banked in a lot of cases. They may be underbanked and underserved, but to get them to that next level, it does take a lot of education. There's also a cultural aspect of having cash, an emotional attachment, and that's not gonna go away soon. And I think that the big job that I've got is that over these next 10 years, as we're all evolving, is to make sure that we bring customers along as we drive technology to drive down costs, because that's ultimately where we wanna be.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree with what Molly said, and even when I moved from PayPal to MoneyGram, that was the same question people asked me, saying, "Oh, cash is dead," and but 3 years, 3.5 years, we see the proportion of cash going down at a much smaller pace than we would think. But there are other factors, right? One of the things that Prajit said earlier, which is on speed. I think the current banking channels are not fast at all. I mean, they're at snail's pace, and in certain countries it takes literally weeks for the money to reach. So we fast, and therefore we see that we have a certain niche that we will be in. Also, I think as the consumers change, we will evolve, we will change, we will move ahead. Of course, we'll talk about a lot of stuff around social media and social payments. We want them to evolve, and we want us to be ahead of the curve. But it's going to be some time before they'll start making money for organizations such as ours. So it will have to be a significant money for organizations like us. So that's something that we are always conscious about. Okay.
Obviously, I think I'll have to challenge that, being digital. I think, yes, cash is not going to go away quickly, but I think it's going to go faster than that maybe we like to think. And I still think that the next generation, I'm sure most people here have got children. They don't want cash. They want to use their phone. They want to do one thing. They want one account and everything. So I think that's going to affect remittance. One thing I'd like also to talk about remittance generally, about and it's also what remittance can do in the future. I think more and more, especially as we're looking at a big second generation of migrants moved away, is what they can do about the remittance, and maybe more on the investment side. I think there's a lot more, again, evidence of people helping the family back home to set up businesses or to kind of start their own businesses, and therefore to help develop their home country. So I think that's also something which is going to grow, and would call on the regulator and civil society. I think I speak to a lot of community leaders, and often the message I get is that we want to send money, we want to help our country, to develop, but we don't know where to send it to, So, okay, diaspora bond, but Najee had the diaspora bond recently, but that was mainly taken by institutional investors and fairly wealthy individuals, and not the diaspora itself.
Thanks, Catherine. Now I was about to take the stand as well, so I have to have a contrarian view. Cash is evil. If we continue with this slow speed from what Molly mentioned from 85 to 83%, that data of trying to hit 3% in 2030 is not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen at all. So I think from coming back to what the primary question was, what you see in Asia Pacific in the next 5 years, I think fintechs are going to do a lot of interesting things. What we've realized is, if you look at a migrant, right, his needs are extremely limited, and today banks don't serve them at all. So we are in discussions with multiple regulators, multiple markets to look at giving us like a small bank license, where you have a bank who doesn't want to give an account to a person who will deposit $500, right, and mostly remove $400 as cash and stand in a Western Union MoneyGram line and send it out. So basically they hate customers like that. So why not give it to fintechs like us, leveraging technology? We can enable these guys to set up an account digitally, receive their salaries, use it for remittance, use it for multiple activities, lend, multiple activities. Can that be done? Absolutely. Who needs to decide that? Regulators, because they need to define a new kind of a banking license category, because today's banking license category we don't fit in. In Singapore you need $1 billion of cash. So we definitely don't fit into that category. But that opportunity is massive, right? Because if you really look at a migrant, his ecosystem is very limited. And the things he wants, what services he needs are so simplified that technology will help you reduce that cost. But a bank cannot. I know there are bankers here, but the fact that a bank cannot serve this customer segment. So let's accept that and let's allow fintechs like us to kind of build something specific to them, which can create them. Imagine, right, as soon as you walk in, say I'm a Bangladeshi migrant worker walking into Malaysia, immediately Instarem or a WorldRemit has an account open for him, his employer sends the money directly in there, then it's his choice, he could have a card where he can go and spend, so you're basically tracking expenses, all that cash in the economy is going out. I think that's the future. And if we don't work towards it in the next 5 years, I think we've lost possibly the biggest opportunity payment system in this market has had.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure, I'm looking at the organizers, if we have time for questions or not. I'm sorry. Okay. So, we have questions here. What are the panelists' view on blockchain technology to increase efficiency and lower cost of remittance operations? Yeah.
So I find it I find it one of the most insane questions which I constantly get. Hey, blockchain is going to kill remittance, blah blah blah. It's the same thing what Molly and Yogesh will feel when we say digital is going to kill cash. But it's exactly the same view. We send money today in 40 plus countries, completely transparent, mid-market rates, as low as 25 basis to 60 basis points. We don't use any crypto, any blockchain. We use the traditional banking cycles, and we are able to do payments as fast as 10 to 15 seconds, as I mentioned. So why would you want to initiate a crypto discussion with a regulator who hates crypto? There is no regulator in, and I'm saying a proper regulator, right? Means if you go to some countries, they'll be like very happy with crypto. Like there's a proper regulator who says that, listen, I love crypto, right? So, let's be really clear, nothing's going to change in the way we send money. Crypto is great. I'll give you a great story. I met a guy who said, listen, I sent SGD to, and he wanted to come and work with us on a treasury role. I sent SGD to INR using blockchain and crypto, and those days SGD to INR was 48 and he got 52 in terms of conversion. He said, this is fantastic. You should try and use this and give the benefit back to the customer. I said, listen, if I do $5 million, that market's not going to be there. Right? As soon as the liquidity is not there in a crypto kind of thing. So you can do small transactional pieces, but can you really do 5 million, say 5 million for me? For these guys, they'll say, I need $100 million to put in there. Right? Is that going to really work? The answer is no. So, don't listen to it. It's like amazing words, amazing, I get invited for talking in crypto events. I said, I don't do anything crypto. Right? So, I think the cost of remittances can be reduced with the existing banking system. You just need to add layers of technology, enable people like us to play in it, which is most critical. Because if there are laws around, high capital requirement, etc., we'll definitely not be able to play in that space. But you don't need blockchain, you don't need crypto, and this is my personal.
Yeah. I like to challenge, So I think, I think we need. Yeah. But no. I think we need to separate crypto and blockchain, and I think the blockchain technology, I think, has a future in terms of, the banking system, the SWIFT system and all that is gone, so old-fashioned, it needs to change. And I think blockchain has probably a place to kind of help, the banking sector to be a lot more efficient. Because at the end of the day, as a money transfer company, I've got to send money around the world. We all have to send money around the world quickly. And one of the problems is our working capital is high because we have to send money. It takes 2 or 3 days to get there. And so I think blockchain potentially has still a long way to be there because I think, as you said, some regulators don't accept it or it is very, and at the end of the day, you still need a bank account and some countries are not ready for it. So just to say that I think blockchain needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Catherine on this one. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of scope to use blockchain in specific parts of the value chain. I wouldn't say that, the entire, right now there's a lot of things there which is very warm and fuzzy. I mean, everybody talks about it as if they're experts on it, but in reality, implementations and the way they have been done and way they kind of interact with our current systems or existing systems of large banks and banking partners. Quite a few of my partners have kind of done stuff around this, and we've announced a partnership with Ripple. We kind of looking at doing stuff with them, but it is very, very specific. So if you have a specific use case, a specific part of the ecosystem that you want to change, probably it's good to kind of do a lot of testing around blockchain right now. There is some efficiency there. Of course, crypto I won't comment on. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. I think we are coming to the end of this session because, well, I don't want to stand between you and your lunch. Well, I hope that when we meet next time, we will have different challenges to discuss, and we will not, let's say, talk about how the cash is still very predominant. By the time we will probably have a very different picture. Thank you very much to all of you. I think the discussion was really interesting and stimulating, and I look forward to the next panels and discussions this afternoon. Wish you a very good lunch. Thank you.